Thank you very much, Patrick, for that inspiring opening. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce us to our first keynote of the day. Mr. Karim Anjarwalla is the managing partner of ALN Kenya and founding partner of Anjarwalla and Ghana, which is generally considered the largest leading corporate law firm in East Africa. Mr. Anjarwalla is considered one of the country's leading corporate M&A practitioners and is recognized for his Africa-wide cross-border work. He is the founder of ALN, an alliance of leading corporate law firms, currently in 15 African jurisdictions. He is ranked as a leading lawyer in Chambers Global, Legal 500, and IFLR 1000. In 2017, Chambers Global praised Mr. Anjarwalla for having led AMK to be a leading firm in Kenya and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we all rise as we welcome Mr. Karim Anjarwalla to take the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Wait, stand up, stretch. Thank you. Better. Looking at my stopwatch. My talk today is going to be called The Rule of Law, Sustainable Economic Development, and the Role of the Private Sector. But before I start, let me share with you an anecdote about Warwick. It was, in fact, the first academic institution of higher learning that I ever visited. The year was 1987, and I came to the Warwick Arts Centre. I was at school, not far away. And I had the incredible honor of listening to Yu on violin, which, I'm not sure if any of you have heard him, but many regard him as one of the great violinists, certainly of this century. So it's particularly ironic and pleasing that I'm again today at Warwick in the presence of Shelley Thompson, also a great performing artist and violinist. So I feel humbled by that. However, after that, Warwick disappointed me, in fact, because my son, Saifuddin, who's a student here, decided to choose Warwick over my alma mater. And in truth, I must tell you that I was disappointed, because I thought he might have made, as all fathers do, they think they're right, I thought he might have made a false choice. But I have to tell you that having spent these 2 days here, I am so impressed by the creativity, energy, vibrancy, and just sheer talent of all the Warwick students I've met, that this really is a case of the son knowing more than the father. The lawyers in the room will know that the rule of law and defining it has been, at the forefront of academic thinking for 150 years. So I won't enter that debate, because I think the rule of law is hard to define, but you know it when you see it, right? I think we all kind of have an idea of what we mean by the rule of law, and we share that idea. But there are 4 principles that I want to just enunciate, and these are not mine. They come from great work done on the rule of law by the World Justice Project. And those 4 principles are accountability, just laws, open government, and an accessible and impartial dispute resolution mechanism. Accessibility means governments and the private sector are accountable under law. Just laws stable, applied evenly, and protect fundamental rights. Open government, the process of enactment, administration, and enforcement is accessible. And of course, dispute resolution, if you have a problem, you can turn to an impartial body to help solve your dispute. Lord Wolfe has said that the rule of law is perhaps the closest thing we have to a universal religion, and I agree. I think we can disagree about many things, whether we're on the right wing or the left wing, whether we're Eastern or Western, whether we're from the Orient or the Occident, we may disagree. But I think we all agree about the necessity for the rule of law. So, coming into Warwick, I decided to think back when I was last here and think about where Africa has come along this journey. So, in 1987, this summit, the idea of this summit would have been impossible. We'd have been meeting maybe about structural adjustment. We'd have been meeting maybe on the scourge of HIV/AIDS. We would have been meeting about perhaps a cultural exchange, not an Africa summit of this scale or size. Let's look at some countries. Turning first to my own, Kenya. In 1987, our then president thought he instituted what he called African democracy. And this was when he got rid of secret ballot and said that we should stand behind each other in a queue in order to vote freely and fairly. He said to us, why would you be scared to show whom you voted for? That was 1987. It was a one-party state, and he made us believe that poverty was the price for peace. And the more uninformed, the more ignorant, the more divided we were, the better. And now we're a maddening, tumultuous, multi-party democracy. We have free primary and secondary education. We are the motherland of M-Pesa, that many of you will have heard of. And we have amongst the highest internet connectivity in Africa. Turning to Ethiopia, another big country in Africa, 87 was under the scourge of the Derg and the psychotic and brutal Mengistu. Turning to 2019, we have Abiy Ahmed, really a prophet for the new Africa, right? Open-minded, a peacemaker, a bridge builder, a visionary, who actually converts his words into actions. In South Africa, prisoner 4664. Anyone know who prisoner 4664 was? Yeah, Nelson Mandela was in jail, and we had the horror of apartheid. And now, 2019, we have a free and pluralistic South Africa, but we had to get through Zuma, state capture, plutocracy, or Guptagate, right? And it was difficult. Let's turn to Nigeria, the great African powerhouse, vibrant, talented, spectacularly creative. But also, the Nigerians in the room. Can you remember who the president was in 1987? Muhammadu Buhari. Right? So change is hard. Change is hard. Right? 42 years ago, you had the same, or 32 years ago, you had the same president as you have today. Right? And then in Egypt, 87 we had Mubarak. And then we had the hope of the Arab Spring. But now we've had the counter-revolution. And so I think what Egypt and Nigeria teach us is that progress on governance and rule of law is non-linear. It's difficult. It's complex. And ultimately, it's about whether or not we can realize our human potential. My proposition today is simple. My proposition is that the adherence to the rule of law is the surest route to sustainable economic opportunity and human development. I quote Kofi Annan when I say that oppression is not an alternative to poverty, nor is development an alternative to freedom. Poverty and oppression go hand in hand, while true development means freedom from both. So what then is the state of the rule of law in Africa? The great thing is that years ago, we would have to talk about this in the abstract. But now we have great data. And you can see this data from two sources: the Ibrahim Index on African Governance and the World Justice Project, that measures, in the latter case, the rule of law and adherence to the rule of law, and in the former case, a more broader-based look at governance. So from the World Justice Project, admittedly, doesn't cover all countries in Africa. It's about 18 countries. And in total, about 120 countries in the world. And the picture is mixed. So when you divide the world into regions, we come a stunning, as a continent, 6th out of 7. Wait for it, we beat only South Asia when it comes to rule of law. And when you think that South Asia contains Afghanistan and Pakistan, that does take some beating. Okay? However, within Africa, the 3 stellar countries, Ghana, South Africa, and Botswana, who rank 43rd, 44th, and 45th in the world. If the WJP had measured Mauritius, Cape Verde, Seychelles, and Namibia, they'd have done really well as well, but they weren't measured by the World Justice Project. And at the bottom of the pile, you have Cameroon and Zimbabwe, perhaps unsurprising, Somalia, South Sudan, DRC, Libya, the Central African Republic would also have been at the bottom of the pile, but they were not covered by the World Justice Project. Turning to the Ibrahim Index of African governance, this is based on 4 pillars: safety and the rule of law, participation, sustainable economic opportunity, and human development. And it's got 10 years of data, because they started doing this in 2008. So you really can get a sense of the trajectory. 2017 was the high point, but only by 1%. So the overall quality of governance in 10 years, according to this index, has grown by 1% in a decade. 34 countries have improved, 18 have got worse, and 1 stayed the same, which essentially means that 1 in 4 Africans are living in a country where governance has declined. The most improved countries, any guesses over the last 10 years? Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, and Morocco. I like that because it's west, north, and east. So there's something happening right across the continent. Ghana would have been there, but it already started from a high base. So it was less improved than the others, but it was well ahead also of the others. More worryingly, there's also increasing dispersal. So the differences between countries are widening. Okay? And more worrying still is that improvement in governance lags behind population growth and youth expectations. So if you were here yesterday, you heard the discussion about whether we might be getting into jobless growth and so on. Well, data on this is chilling. 2008 to 2017, Africa's GDP grew 40%. Measured by the Ibrahim Index, sustainable economic opportunity stayed flat. Okay? So 40% growth, but for the vast majority of Africans, their lives have not improved in a decade. That's what the data tells us. And the data also tells us that being a big country doesn't insulate you from this. So amongst the worst performers in improving sustainable economic opportunity were Algeria, Angola, Nigeria, and Sudan. Right? I want you all to be aware that we mustn't live in what I call the big city bubble. For those of you who may live in Nairobi or in Accra or in Lagos, you see skyscrapers rise, you see freeways being built, and we assume that this development is happening across our country. But look deeper. Go outside Lagos, go outside Nairobi, go outside the big cities, and understand whether what we're doing is sustainable. The other thing we learn from the Ibrahim Index is that the strongest correlation between governance and sustainable economic development is rule of law. So that's a regression analysis. And let me repeat this because it's important. The biggest and strongest linkage between any indicator and sustainable economic opportunity is the rule of law. Not the amount of infrastructure you build, okay? Not the number of universities you open, but stable and just rule of law. Côte d'Ivoire was in fact the only country to improve in all 14 categories over a decade. And they were the second most improved in the rule of law and transparency heads. I think I might hear murmurs in the room, or maybe I'm making it up. What about China? What about Rwanda? And what about Ethiopia? They aren't exactly what you would call the bastions of the rule of law, yet they have developed incredibly. I happen to think that it's a little bit like saying, do any of you have those friends who never study but still do really, really well? Yeah? You have those friends, right? That's a case of correlation, not causation. Okay? It's as simple as that, right? The lack of study didn't make you do well. You did well despite your lack of study. Now, we can have a big debate about, because there are differences between China, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. But I don't think the absence of the rule of law is what made them grow. On the contrary. So I want to turn now to the role of the private sector and non-governmental players. So the role of us in improving the rule of law. So we've established the rule of law is important. We've established that, in fact, it is the most important indicator when you're trying to establish sustainable economic opportunity. And so we must ask, well, whose job is this? And what are the challenges that we are trying to address? The big challenges of our time, and there are many on the continent, excuse me, I'll just grab a bit of water. There are many on our continent, but Africa is in this unfortunate position of being the smallest contributor to climate change, but the continent that will be the most affected by climate change. Okay? Our second challenge is jobless growth. I've shown you the data. 40%, 39.7% over 10 years in GDP, and flatlining on sustainable economic opportunity. So jobless growth. Now, this jobless growth came before the advent of digital manufacturing and artificial intelligence. So the question that was asked yesterday was, is the Industrial Revolution open to Africa like it was to all the other continents? Or is our path a different one? Okay, so that's the third major challenge. The fourth one is insecurity and immigration. So the one data point that has worsened across the board is security within Africa. And I put it to you that political conditions in Europe mean that Europe is going to struggle to have more Africans on boats crossing the Med. Okay? They'll either move to the far right and or close their borders. So then it begs the question, where will desperate Africans go? Because crossing the Sahara, getting into a boat, is the action of very desperate people with few choices. So where will they go if they can't enter Europe? I put it to you that from those of us from more affluent African countries, they'll come to us. Whether that's your neighbor, Nigeria or Ghana, whether that's Kenya, and of course, many of us already have large populations of refugees within our borders. In fact, I'm very irritated by the current European attitude when a country like Kenya has for more than 25 years had over 2.5 million refugees within our country. The fourth major challenge is debt. Okay? So many African countries benefit from the HIPIC program, where there were debt write-offs, and suddenly, for the economists amongst you, if you look at the data, debt to GDP spiraling across Africa. Okay? Some of it fueled by access to sovereign bond markets, a lot of it fueled by an infrastructure build-out funded non-transparently by China. Right? So, climate change, jobless growth, AI and digital manufacturing, insecurity and immigration, and debt. Though there are many, but I see these as 5 major challenges. And the rule of law is the instrument to deal with them. So the question to you is, what's your role? Okay? What can the private sector do to move the needle on dealing with these challenges? I want to share with you a few random examples of what I think we can do. The people in this room are far brighter and more vibrant than I, and you will come up with your own ideas. But let me just give you a few examples. One, many of you will know that since the 1990s, African countries have enacted over 40 new constitutions. Most of these constitutions speak of the rule of law, human dignity, and so on. But we haven't developed the tools to challenge our governments, the legal tools. One example. Governments, my own included, enter into untransparent contracts for our largest infrastructure projects. These contracts are signed behind closed doors without the oxygen of any publicity. And you know what happens when there's no light? Infections spread. Okay? So we need to put light on these contracts and disinfect them. And so public interest litigation, using freedom of information type provisions across Africa, will hold governments to account and make them think twice before they enter into untransparent contracts. I think a closer involvement with academia. My own organization has got a relationship with a university which Warwick, in fact, is affiliated to, Strathmore in Kenya. We help them with the building of their library knowledge center and collaborate with them on various capacity building initiatives. I want to talk a little bit about taking on interest groups. And I want to give you the example, and you can Google it later, of a man called James Wakibia. So James comes from a town called Nakuru in Kenya. Those of you who may have been there know that it was infested really by plastic bags, littering the entire horizon. Okay? And James was fed up with it because animals were dying and the place looked unkempt and untidy. So James started to write about it, blog about it, tweet about it. One day, his tweet got picked up by our environmental secretary, a lady called Judy Wakungu, who tweeted back and said, I agree. Last year, following the Festival of Wonder, Kenya banned plastic bags. Okay? And in fact, had draconian penalties. For those of you who are coming from Nairobi Airport, please leave the plastic bags in London, including the ones from duty free. Okay? It's expensive to break that rule. And of course, industries have been affected, some jobs lost as a consequence. But you know, the earth has still revolved on its axis, and we've moved on. And Kenya is cleaner for not having plastic bags littering our landscape. But this moved on. So inspired by James, a movement started called flip-flopping. So when an Indonesian drinks some chocolate milk and throws it, it washes up in Zanzibar. Yeah. Okay? And so the scourge of plastic in our oceans is huge. If you were to clean a Kenyan beach on any given day, you would collect tons of waste. Tons, literally, I mean thousands of kilos of plastic waste. So a group of inspired Kenyans came together, and they call it the flip-flopping movement. I guess you don't need to be a genius to figure out why, because they decided to collect plastic or rubber slippers that had been washed up on the beach, and with those rubber slippers, they recycled them and made a boat, a 9-meter boat. that boat has been sailing up and down the coast, creating awareness about environmental sustainability and trying to get our government to ban single-use plastic. Guess what? Inspired by James, philanthropy started. Philanthropy started, many supported it. We were one of the supporters. Before we knew it, UNEP had supported it. In fact, even the Secretary General tweeted about it. And on a recent expedition from Lamu to Zanzibar, stopping along the coast, pretty much our entire hotel industry has resolved to stop using single-use plastic and stop using straws. And I'm fairly confident that over the next decade, the revolution that philanthropy has started will fundamentally change the way we deal with our environment. So that's a third example. A fourth example of how the private sector can get involved in a more fundamental way in infrastructure is in the power sector. I think it'll surprise you to know that over 60% of Kenya's electricity is renewable. 60%, it's a staggering number. Okay? Whether that's wind, water, biogas, whatever, is completely renewable. That's because of an active engagement between the private sector and government. So, I've given you some clues about how I think the private sector, the non-governmental organizations get involved in defining a new Africa and one based on a rules-based order. And I leave you with a quote from the great Chinua Achebe. A functioning, robust democracy requires a healthy, educated, participatory fellowship, and educated, morally grounded leadership. So, ladies and gentlemen, the only question is whether you will be that morally grounded leadership. I thank you.
When there is no light, infection spreads. That's maybe a quote I'm going to take over this weekend. So now we're going to have time for a Q&A session. So if anybody has any questions for Mr. Anjarwalla, please raise your hand and we'll have a rope around hand. First question, please. Yes, gentlemen in the first row and then after the second row.
Hello. Thank you for the speech, sir. My question to you is, what is the measurement for the adjustment of the law? How do you measure the adjustment of the law?
We take 4 questions at once and then how many questions? Take 3 at once and then we'll gentlemen go next row. Yeah. And then gentlemen also in this room.
Thank you for your speech. One question I have for you is you mentioned the big city complex, which talk about big projects happening, but the benefits not really going to those outside of the cities. So what advice would you give for a lawyer who's interested in working with the finance in terms of making sure these benefits do reach out to the, I guess, the essential?
Right.
Thank you for your speech, sir. I was just wondering, you talked about how Kenya can have...
Where are you? Sorry, I'm seeing
we talked about how Kenya can generate 60% renewable energy because of collaboration between the government and the private sector. So I was just wondering how do the mechanics work and how does the government and private sector work together to achieve such results?
Thank you for your speech. Truly insightful words, as has been said. So my question relates kind of to both the discussion on renewable energy and then also the contracts. And it's how do contracts get signed for deals such as the Lamu coal plant, when Kenya has such a significant emphasis on renewable energy? And how can deals like that be challenged at the later stages?
Let me give the first question. I think if I understood correctly, how do you measure improvements in law? Is that the question? Yeah. So I guess the World Justice Project and the Karim Index have various metrics. They look at civil liberties, criminal justice, civil justice, access to the courts, impartiality of the courts. There are a whole bunch of metrics. I know in the case of the World Justice Project, they have 110,000 responses to questions, and they split it into two. So they kind of have Cody, and they then go to experts. The methodology is laid out in their, in their work. I'm not an expert on the exact methodology, but I do know that it's very wide-ranging. The other thing they try to measure is improvement. And in fact, I should have mentioned Liberia because in terms of sheer improvement, Liberia is in fact one of the most improved countries in almost all of those metrics, under both the Karim Index and the World Justice Project. With regard to the question about the emphasis on big cities and as a project finance lawyer, what can you do to make sure there's benefit going beyond cities? That's a great question. I mean, I think the question of community engagement is really, really key. Right? So when you're building a power plant, or if you're building roads through a rural community, there's an offset, right? People lose homes, there's an acquisition of land, maybe there's a disruption of livestock movement, for example, right? So the question that I think needs to be asked is, what's the social cost of that offset? And how do we engage with that community in a sustainable way? And I think there's an increasing understanding of what I call social license to operate. Okay? So you need a license to operate, a legal license, your regulatory commissions and so on and so forth, but you also need a social license. And I think what the social license talks to is a sense in which you must become a contributor to the community from which you generate your profits and your return. So whether that is about local employment, whether that's about local shareholding, whether that's about education, it could be a number of different things. But I think focusing on the social license is critical because, in fact, it's what will make your project sustainable. Across Africa, you see this, particularly in the oil-rich countries. Your legal contract is worth something. But you know what? A legal contract doesn't stop your oil pipeline getting ripped out of the ground. Right? It just doesn't stop that. And so on. And there are lots of other examples I could give. I think the third question is about renewable energy and coordinated work. I think you need two things, right? You need a civil service, particularly, because politicians will change with elections, and they're important because they set the agenda, but you need a civil service that can ride the political storm, okay? And remain focused in the meantime. And what we had in Kenya was a civil service who understood the power sector and understood a fundamental economic point about Africa, that if you're an oil importer, your currency will consistently decline because of the burden that you place on your FX reserves having to import oil. And then Kenya looked at its comparative advantages and said, well, we sit on the Great Rift Valley. So we literally have thousands of megawatts of geothermal power. We have a semi-arid part of our country where we have stable wind. Okay? And we have places where we can dam water without much social consequence. So what can we do when we combine those three things to reduce our reliance on burning fuel? And so they create a regulatory structure, a tariff regime, but most importantly, and this is where many African countries fail, they have an off-taker, a buyer for the power, who had a good balance sheet. So that when you build the power plant and you need to sell the power, you can trust that they will pay you, right? And so it's an ecosystem. It's lots of things that need to come together to create that kind of winning formula. I think the last point that Kiki raised was in relation to a coal plant, a controversial coal plant along the Kenyan coast. So he's asking two questions. Firstly, why should we be building a coal plant? And what could we do if we think it's a bad idea to stop it? So in any power mix, you need a combination of what's called stable power, and you can then have things like wind, which are not called base load, because they vary. So coal power is obviously a sign of the past, rather than a sign of the future. Okay? It's also the case that we don't have much coal in Kenya, so you're going to import the coal, put it on a ship, take it a few thousand miles north to the coal plant. It's also the case that coal plants belch out fairly noxious stuff. What could be done to challenge the construction of the coal plant? Well, there are various things that could happen. I'm not talking about this specific issue, but environmental permitting. Okay? My point about casting light on a contract, freedom of information litigation, and so on. One of the things, ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you about corruption in Africa is that our corrupt class are incredibly adept at moving our focus away from the real issues. Okay? And they do that generally by making one scandal follow the other. You barely heard about a certain scandal, and you're just digesting what it means, and before you know it, bang! They hit you with another scandal. And before you know it, a month later, there's another scandal. And 6 months later, you're scratching your head and saying, gosh, what happened about that power plant? Right? And so you just get destabilized and unfocused. So one of the things that I'm trying to do myself, and I recommend to you, is don't get distracted by noise. Okay? Once you found an issue, stick with it. Right? Just stick with it. Follow it through, and you get more reward by doing that than by generally lamenting the state of the world and corruption. Right? And the other trick that they use is they will prosecute small corruption. Okay? And make a huge song and dance about the guy who stole a banana or whatever. You know what I mean, right? Some really petty crime. Okay? Whilst they loot the treasury. I think I've answered the 4 questions.
I think that's all the questions answered, yes, thank you. So, a round of applause please for